This approach to therapy, often now described as stuttering modification, is a popular therapy in many places, although large-scale data verifying its effectiveness are still relatively sparse, more than half a century after initial reports of its use. Bloodstein Ratner, page 353. One study by Blomgren et al. In 2005 refers to treatment outcomes of a group of 19 adults who stutter. In their study, the program didn't produce statistically significant changes in fluency, but did produce some long-term changes in avoidance and expectancy scores on the PSI and two affective subscales of the multi-component anxiety inventory. Another study by Manning et al. From 1999 was a listening experiment with a single speaker performed stuttered speech and cancellations and pullouts. The listeners found both cancellations and pullouts less preferred than unmodified stuttered speech. Cancellations were judged as more natural than pullouts. Sheehan borrowed concepts from both conflict theory and role theory to develop the principles of avoidance reduction therapy for stuttering. The conflict therapy showed how the people who stutters experiences competing drives of both approach and avoid speaking due to anticipation of two opposing outcomes, either successful communication or shame related to perceived negative listener reaction. Stuttering is partly an identity problem, a disorder of the social presentation of the self, mentioned by Sheehan in 1970. Role conflict, according to Sheehan, helped to explain the fact observed by most people who stutter that they could be perfectly fluent when speaking alone in a room. The experiences of speaking fluently, at least some of the time, led to expectations, hopes of continued fluency, heightened anxiety, and leading to increased stuttering. Within such framework, treatment of stuttering involves both reducing efforts to avoid showing stuttering, as well as conceal one's identity as a person who stutters. Through avoidance reduction therapy, fluency is achieved as a byproduct of self-acceptance and letting go of efforts to control speech. As an extension of further development of the learning-oriented ideas of Sheehan concerning stuttering led to interest in experimenting with behavior modification. The orientation includes both classical and operant types of conditioning procedures, as well as other techniques with no conditioning at all. Volpe represents classical and operant types of conditioning procedures. Volpe in 1958 developed a procedure designed to make fear responses fade away. It is referred to as reciprocal inhibition or systematic desensitization. Volpe found out that some responses tended to inhibit anxiety, for instance relaxation, eating, motor activity, or assertive behavior. If those kind of responses could be made to occur in the presence of the stimulus that evoked the anxiety, its tendency to do so would be weakened. For example, a child could lose a fear of dogs if fed repeatedly near one. The opposite reaction could happen as well. According to Volpe, it is important to be assuring of that the fear didn't overcome the responses. If so, a gradual systematized desensitization, gradual approach was recommended. Volpe trained his clients to fantasize their fears and applied hierarchical concept of deconditioning to imagined rather than actually feared objects. This concept is used in training against many kinds of phobias. In 1967, he introduced a method in stuttering therapy as well, followed by Broughton and Shoemaker in treatment of stuttering. Nowadays, the use of desensitization as the only ingredient in treatment of stuttering is not used that much because of poor outcomes of scientific results, but it is used currently included as a part of a hybrid or integrative therapy approach. And here there are some comments. Desensitization is used as a part of both the comprehensive stuttering program Boberg, Kali, Kroll, forne-wästlund. Desensitization as anxiety reduction is used for helping the client to use the learned speech targets, including self-correction through covert practice, transfer, and during the maintenance phase. And the Van Riparian approach, Speech Foundation of America, Lundberg et al., desensitization of the use of pseudo-stuttering, smooth stutter speech pattern as well as cancellation. So you see the desensitization is both in fluency therapies and in stuttering modification therapies. First, punishment of stuttering. For example, verbal punishments, slow down. Reinforcement of fluency, for instance, verbal rewards, good speech, you sounded real nice, for instance, in LeadCom program. Time out for speaking. Combined punishment and reward. For example, praise for fluent speech and ask for reattempts for the stuttered utterance. And here's a LeadCom program. They are also rewarding in fluency programs. Token economy, experimental, 3-week laboratory set where tokens were earned or lost in combination with prolonged speech, and the therapies by Andrews and Ingham explained there. And the modifying thematic context, for instance, operant conditioning program to increase positive verbal responses in stepwise manner of Iowa therapy. Approval to positive verbal responses and disapproval of negative ones. For instance, Shames et al. In Bloodstein and Bernstein Ratner, the only current program mentioned is the LeadCom program, but most of the ingredients are probably used in both fluency shaping and stuttering modification therapies to reach therapeutic goals in child therapy, whether it concerns increased fluency like LeadCom or increased use of pseudo-stuttering, for instance, the Dell approach. Hopefully the token economy in laboratory settings are not used with respect to our clients, our ethical considerations. Fluency enhancing speech patterns means a change in the stutterer's manner of speaking without the use of concurrent assistive feedback. For instance, Schwartz in 1976, Airflow Management, Webster In 1974, Gentle Onsets of Phonation, Precision Fluency Shaping Program, Onslow, Pacman et al. In 1996, Prolonged Speech. They can be used in treatment for increasing fluency, but needs in most cases to be combined with problem-solving strategies for maintenance of fluency, as facilitation of fluency does not per se remove affective and cognitive concerns and anxiety that most individuals who stutter have about their speaking and fluency. Bloodstein and Bernstein Ratner reports treatments outcomes for adults using prolonged speech through documented results from Onslow et al. The concerns from the sitting group, the Camperdown program, comprise not only fluency skills but also weekly problem-solving sessions, following a model advanced by Ingham in 1980. This gradually weans clinical contacts by moving clinical consultations meetings to 2, 4, 8, 12, and 24 weeks intervals. For 16 individuals who completed the program, fluency outcomes were still positive a year later. Stuttering rate decreased from main score 7 to 9% stutter syllables to less than 1% stutter syllables with reasonably good speech rate and naturalness ratings. Okay.